What's going on, Movementers? Welcome to another episode of Movementers Storytime. I'm Crystal Clear, and let's go ahead and start off with a prayer. My dearly Father, I thank you for this day, Lord. Thank you for once again having everybody see another episode of Movementers Storytime. Lord, I ask that you would just help me say the right words that you need me to say to everybody in the world to help them get them through the week or whatever situations that they're going through. And I just ask that you would give us the protection that we need, because I know a lot of things is just going on that's driving people pretty much crazy and pretty much in dangerous situations. And Lord, I just ask you to just stretch your hand and forth against any evil that conspires against us, and just help us to have a good day and rely on you more and not more of ourselves. And we give you all the honor, glory, and praise. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen, amen.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Chris.
It's been a while.
A long while.
Yeah, I had to do a lot of projects, so I had to put Storytime on hold for a while. I hope you guys enjoyed the new album that came out with Big Stigs, Humble Yet Musically Needed. Him. So, so I hope you all enjoyed that. It's out there now on salvrec.com, salvwrec.com. Also on Muvmint TV, Muvmint TV, and all social media platforms. You can find all the Big Stigs' music out there. So let's just get right back to the topic at hand. Originally, I was going to do part 2 of the cost of your anger. Mm-hmm. However, I believe the Lord instilled in me to talk about something that's about to transpire next week on Tuesday, which is the presidential election.
Yay!
She's don't seem too enthused. How come?
How come?
Yeah.
It's just, I'm at the ballpark that I'm ready for the election festivus to be over.
Yeah.
And everybody get back to normal. I think once everybody know who's elected, we can kind of just move forward, and hopefully all the camaraderie can kind of I don't know. It's just an interesting time. I get like this every election cycle. It's like everybody goes, I don't know why they do what they do, but then literally a couple days after, everybody is back to the grind, and it's like, can we just keep that going? I'm just so...
Yeah, but you know what's funny? I'm glad you said that, because I kind of feel the same way that you do, because of all the the, like you said, the election campaigns and all this stuff that's going around. However, due to the past few presidencies, I feel like the candidates has been more polarizing than the usual.
I would say,
because think about it. You had President Trump, which was just Donald Trump at the time, versus Hillary Clinton, and people didn't like Hillary because of what she was about, and people definitely did not like Trump because of what he was about. So then he won the election against Hillary Clinton. And then we're going to fast forward to 4 years between him and Joe Biden. Again, it was 2 candidates that really nobody really wanted, and then fast forward to 4 more years, now it's Kamala Harris and Trump again. And it seems like there's a tug of war about, what this person believes in this and this person believes in that. I'm not going to get all into the depths of what they believe in. Everybody should know by now what each candidate is what their beliefs are, and pretty much what their beliefs are compared to what they're actually going to do in the office. So it's there's a lot of times people, these recent elections, it's and I'm not saying this to because I don't know Kamala Harris and I don't know Donald Trump, but I'm just alongside of people when they're hitting the polls on Tuesday, they I don't know which person to pick, because if I pick this person, we're screwed, and then if I pick this person, we're screwed on this aspect. So it's it just feels like people are beat down about who are they going to vote for.
And the thing is, we don't know who is being truthful at this point. It's neither one of y'all are truthful. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, it's I want to see what you guys actually do in office. Everybody's going up against Trump.
Yeah.
And I'm okay.
And then everybody's going against Kamala. Yeah.
okay. But I'm like, at the same time, this is not our first go around too, because I remember when everybody was all up against like George W.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
everybody was all up
yeah,
against, and I even did some more research. A lot of people was against like Ronald Reagan because he was an actor first. He
right,
wasn't a politician.
right,
That wasn't his shtick.
right.
But it's just it's like you have two polarizing people wanting two completely different things with the US, and I'm like, I understand that, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm not even sure if anything will change.
And that's the problem that I have too, because you know, when one president came in, we already know what Trump did in his first his first campaign of presidency. So, and people, regardless if they agree with him or not, or disagree with him, one thing you could say that Donald Trump definitely was a polarizing figure where people had a strong opinion about him, regardless if they liked him or they don't.
Yeah.
Same thing with like Hillary when, you know, before when she was running for president. Same thing about President Obama when, you know, running for presidency, you know what I mean? So now it seems like now it's more like a tug of war. When President Trump lost the election to Joe Biden, you see what the reaction was, what happened on January 6th with all the people that stormed the White House.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was crazy. You would never think that people were that upset. Dude, if they thought that they cheated the election or not, that's not what I don't care about, like talking about that right now. But the way that people were so upset that they stormed the White House and the Capitol, not the White House, the Capitol, and did what they did on January 6th, just shows you how crazy that we as a people, as a nation, are getting. And regardless of how people feel about how these politicians are running our country, it's just getting to the point that people are disregarding what the law says about how we should govern ourselves accordingly and just taking matters into our own hands.
Yeah.
And the topic I wanted to discuss about this in this episode was, who can you trust? Who do you trust? Because you got one guy, like I said, who have his views, and then you got Kamala Harris, who has her views, and people are rarely, it seems like a tug of war of trying, you know, regardless of who you vote for, the general public of opinion is so strong against these two politicians is that it just feels like there's no hope regardless of who's in office.
Yeah, and I kind of don't, for me, that's why I can't wait for just the whole thing to be over, because it almost seems like news and like even like celebrities and whatnot, even though I try not to like even listen to that type of stuff, but you do see it, like everybody is leaning towards just one particular candidate, and I'm like, why? Like, I don't, that's where my and not knowing, like I even looked into it, like I even looked into like her viewpoints and things like that, and I'm like, okay, like I don't understand why everybody is so for this one particular candidate, when I'm like, yeah, I get everybody's thing with Trump, and this is not saying that I'm a Trumper, because I think that's everybody like, oh, you want, like, no, but if you want to like go toe to toe, technically speaking, for me personally, when Trump was in office, I had money in the bank. Right. My taxes were low. Right. Like everything was kind of like, I was able to afford, you know, groceries for like $20, and that will last me a couple days for me and my kids and you. So it's like,
but see, here's some one thing you got to think about that too. Regardless of who won, the question is, how would the world react to? It's getting to the point that people are so crazed right now, and like I said, I don't care for Donald Trump, and you know, I don't care for Kamala. I'm more in the middle. If you're right about something I believe in, you're right, and if you're wrong about something I believe in, you're wrong. There are some things that I agree with President Obama, and there were some things that I agreed with President Obama. So, like, I look at the person of what they did in the office and what was the intention of their heart. And going on what you said, that there were some ways that President Trump did that I did have money in my pocket, but there were some ways that he didn't do well that President Biden has done better.
Yeah.
One of the main things, because like one of the things I always hear about, they say Biden didn't do anything good. I'm like, well, he did help kill this pandemic. You know what I mean? You can't look at a person and say no, nothing that they did wrong. Okay,
No,
regardless if you regardless if you like the person or not, there's something that somebody did that you might don't like, might have done right.
Yeah.
But the question is, who do you trust? That's the question of the topic, because I have something that'll help people to understand why am I asking you that question.
I trust Jesus, and that's probably the best way to do it, because I don't trust none of these politicians.
Right, but why? Why? My question to you is, why do you choose to trust God more than anything, like more than rather the Republican Party or the Democratic Party? Why do you choose to trust God more than the government?
I trust the simple fact that whoever ends up being our new president, I believe that God is still looking out for all of us, even through the midst of it. Because even though everything that went down during Biden's administration, we still were good. Like, that's where it's like, and that's one thing I was like, regardless of what your views on Biden, we still, in our own location, we don't have wars and whatnot. We might disagree with what's going on out there in the world, of course.
Right.
But at the same token, right now at home, we're having certain things going on, but it's not to the extent it could be. Right. And the thing is, are we like praising Biden for it? No. But at the same time, it's like we are still being protected in some regards. So,
and I have a Bible verse that supports exactly what she says. So I'm going to be reading out of Jeremiah chapter 17 verses 5. And I'm going to be reading it in the King James Version. And then I'm going to expound on that and what she was saying, okay? So it says in Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 5, it says, "Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart depart from the Lord."
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, my dad sat me down one time, and he told me, he said, "Who do you trust?" And obviously I'm a kid, so the first thing you're going to say, I trust you because you're my dad. Or, you know what I mean? Like, for instance, you with your mom. I knew if you're one of the things that I knew from your past, especially from all the pictures that I seen, you was always close to your mom.
Yeah, that woman could walk on water, like seriously.
Right. So it's like, because what did they say? A parent is like a god in a child's eyes.
Okay, Silent Hill. Yes.
Yeah. So you know what I mean. So when he asked me like, who do I trust? I said, well, I trust you. I trust mom. And my dad cut me off. He said, you don't trust me. So I was like, why? Because he was trying to challenge me to open my mind about what God is trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay. So even though I say, why I like you, my dad, like, I love you, you're my dad. Because then he pointed it to me in the Bible, which was, I found out later, was Jeremiah chapter 17 verses 5. He goes, he who trusteth in a man becomes a curse.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about that. And of course, as a kid, you throw that to the backside. So he always told me to don't trust anybody. Because just like you and me, and just like the stuff that's going on in the world with other people and stuff like that, there's people who you tend to trust and there's people who you don't trust. But at the same time, there's people who you trust wholeheartedly end up doing something to break your trust. Look at the marriages that fail these days. Some of the stuff that we did in our marriage, that could have caused detrimental to our marriage as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a line where people can cross over to the other side based upon one wrong decision.
Yeah. So
when I think about that, and I think about, okay, my dad's telling me not to trust him, even though you technically do trust the person that actually is helping you, but he's telling you not to wholeheartedly trust the person because it's that person. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you put people on a pedestal, and then when they do fall, it's like your whole view of them almost like
Changes.
just
And
collides
you're right,
and whatnot.
everything collapses. Just think about it like was it with a celebrity. A lot of times people say you don't want to meet your celebrity because
don't meet your heroes because they might not be who you thought they were.
right, and you realize when you meet them, you realize, man, this guy's actually a jerk. But you spent your whole time, not saying idolizing, but being amazed at what that person is about. There's a couple of like athletes that I love, but I know darn well that if you meet them in person, you're probably not gonna have a good interaction with them.
Now you know what I mean? Gonna lie, there's only one person I would have loved to have met when he was alive. It was actually Mr. Rogers, and I think he probably would have.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and I heard he was nice, but see, that was one of the few. Yeah. But there's some people there's a lot of people when they're in the positions of power. When you finally meet your person that you love, you realize that they're not as good as they used to be.
But it might be weird or awkward, and it's okay because they're human. At
right,
the end of the day.
And it is, and like some of the, even with some people who love me, like for what I do, I say, you know what? You don't want to use me as a perfect example of being a Christian, because if you think of me as a perfect example of being a Christian, I'll show you some things that I've done recently to make you want to turn your head and go, you really did that? So it's like you can't trust the person for other than the fact that for him being him. You have to think more outside the box when it comes to trusting the man. Yeah. Okay. Precedent, like look at the precedents that we're going through. You know what I mean? Everybody that's been going through with the recent years of struggles through the economy and all that stuff, you're blaming the president, you're blaming the government. You know what I mean? So, and now the election is coming, and Trump says I would do this, and then Kamala says I would do this, and it's like you're voting, which is good. You should vote if you want to vote, and whoever you vote for, that's your opinion. But I feel as though that the United States people are putting too much trust into what these government is trying to do for us, rather than relying on God, the one who created us in the first place, the one who's perfect in every single way, who can provide us, like you said. Even though we have good presidents and bad presidents, God still is above all to help us be provided with every need that we have to get through whatever this guy is doing to our country.
Yeah.
But the problem is a lot of people don't believe in God. And because they don't believe in God, they put their trust in a king to run our country. Perfect example. What happened in First Samuel when Israel wanted a king and didn't want to follow God, because Israel wanted to follow a man that they can see every day rather than the God that they can't see every day. And what happened? Samuel told them what was going to happen. He was going to take your kids and throw them into wars, and your children would die. He told them that the Lord said, you want a man king? He would bring taxes onto your land. He can take your land. He can take everything that you worked hard for. Mm-hmm. And not only that, other stuff that the king can take, which you have no say. And with the children of Israel, I guess it was children of Israel, the ancestors of Israel told Samuel, we still want a king.
Yeah.
So then that's when God brought Saul to be the first king of Israel. Yeah. And look what happened. You know what I mean? See, before then, when there was wars and stuff, if you was on God's side, even though you had no king, God would fight your wars for you. So now you appointed a man who is not perfect to take the position of a God role, to run your land and your livelihood the way he thinks is right, which is not 100% right, because we turned our backs on God to put this king in there.
Yeah.
And therefore, one wrong decision, one biased decision, all of a sudden, now it's bringing forth generational curses of things that are happening to us.
Yeah.
How many times did we hear about presidents being racist? And I'm not going to name no names. I don't want to name no names. How many
almost like a
times you
running
hear
gag at
about
this point.
presidents being racist who put in laws that hold black people backwards, we are still fighting today.
Yeah.
Laws that they put in place that causes generational curses to make us feel like we're inferior to the Caucasian race.
Yeah.
And it's not just us. It's like they did it to, the Hispanic culture as well. They did it to the Jewish culture as well. People who were known as, I guess, what's the right word? Not fully Caucasian. They put in laws and stuff that held us back for years. And there's no denying that, because the United States actually acknowledged that years ago, especially during the slavery time, that they was wrong for what they did. So this is not my opinion. No. This is a fact.
Yeah.
So it's like, but at the same time, it's like they have put it all falls on the beliefs of the king. And because you took God out of that factor, the only thing God could do is go behind the scenes and provide the ways of the means to the ends to make you survive, whatever this president or that president puts on the land.
Yeah.
Best example, and rest in peace to all the people who passed off during COVID. You know what I mean? Even though a lot of the things happened during the years of 2020, God still worked behind the background to have the people who survived COVID today be provided.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not blaming like Trump, or I'm not blaming, because all that stuff is bigger than me. Okay. One thing about us as a nation, we gotta think bigger than what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure, things were handled poorly at that time by Trump during that administration with COVID. That is a fact.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to understand that there was a bigger picture outside the box that was going on in the world, and then infected the United States, because that stuff happened outside the United States first, and then it came into the United States. It's regardless of what the situation that was brought upon our house.
Yeah.
And I call our house like the United States.
Yeah.
Things that are happening over the course of the whole world.
Yep.
Were due to the decisions of kings of that country.
Yeah.
Think about the stuff that, like I said, COVID came from, I believe it was like Wuhan, China. Okay.
I think so.
Now let's push that to the side. The war between Ukraine and Russia, because Putin wanted that land.
Yeah.
So therefore, by his decision, he started bringing the people over to Ukraine, and then the war started over Ukraine. Now let's push that to the side. Then you got the things that's going on in the Middle East. We was at war for 20 years with Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Before President Biden pulled us out of Afghanistan. But we had to go in there because all the things that happened during 9/11.
Yeah.
To get Osama bin Laden, and everything was elevating after 2001 in New York City. So it's like we had to go in there and go in there and go get him. But because he was protected by the Taliban and all the other stuff that was going on in the other countries, so the United States had to inherit that issue just to get to the main issue of getting Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
So now we pull that to the side. Then you have ISIS. After we took over Iraq, ISIS started emerging. After Saddam Hussein was killed, executed.
And it came out of woodwork.
Right. Yeah. ISIS came out of the woodwork. And before, people thought it was just like the usual, a militant extremist group. They became so big that caused a lot of countries problems, mainly in Syria, to the point that they had a big, big war in Syria that had to involve the United States and Russia and other countries to get involved in it to draw back the forces of ISIS.
Yeah.
So now push that to the side. Then you have a whole lot of things that were happening in Africa, where there's a lot of genocides going on in Africa. And not only that, there was a lot of executions of Christians because there were reports about people executing born-again Christians for spreading the word in Africa.
Yeah.
Why am I have all these things? Why am I saying push this to the side, push this to the side? I'm telling you, there's a collective of things that's going on, regardless if it's in the United States or around the world, that were made by the decisions of kings.
Yeah.
Regardless if he's a real king or a diplomat or you know,
a leader or
yes,
sort.
these are people that man put trust in them rather than God to make the decisions for them.
Yeah.
You know, and because of that, it's causing generational curses to fall upon us. Mm-hmm. Not as far as just the United States, but as far as everybody in the world. To the point that now we're getting more angry. And we don't care about what the law said. We're going to take what we were owed. You know what I mean? We're going to take back what we're owed, to the point that we're going to take matters into our own hands. And again, like I said, one of the best examples was the inauguration thing on January 6th.
Mm-hmm.
It's to the point that because we're putting trust in our kings to run our lives, we're allowing Satan and his demons to instill anger in us, to want to take matters into our own hands, and to cause us to be further away from God than what he desired for us to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why God said, curse is the man that put his trust in man.
Yeah.
Now, if you read further along in the chapter, because you really should read, I just gave you that one verse, but if you read chapter, I believe it's 17 verses 1 through 7, it has more depth into it. And like in verse 7, it says, "Blessed is the man that trusts in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is." And in verse 8, it says, "He shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat comes, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit."
Mm-hmm.
So it's to the point that when you put your trust in the God, that even when the heat comes, even when the drought comes, you can be carefree about your actions, because no matter what, as long as you're covered in the rivers of the Lord, you can be kind of reckless. That's what it sounds like. Kind of reckless and still be provided and still have plentiful. Everything that you need will be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't that crazy? Like, you can be reckless when people are suffering and still be more plentiful than the whole world.
Yeah.
Because you put your trust in God.
Yeah. It makes sense.
It does, because like I said, you're putting your trust in somebody that's not perfect over than the one who is perfect and can see all.
Mm-hmm.
God is above all of us.
Yeah.
So it's like he sees when things is going to escalate. He sees when things is about to happen. He sees when things do happen. And then he sees how he's going to react to it to fix everything. But the problem is we don't see it.
Oh.
And when we don't see it and we make rash decisions, that's when we fall.
Yeah, if you think about it, like sometimes people get so bent out of shape over, like, even though we're talking about politicians, they'll be like, "Oh, I didn't expect them to do this." Well, as a Christian, I'm like, well, I wouldn't expect anything less. So it's like one of those things where I'm not putting them on such of a pedestal that if they do come down, it's like they're human at the end of the day.
They are, and they're not only they're human, they're in a system that's satanic.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to say that, because like people think, no, it's not. The presidency is another pawn in the system that's owned by the devil.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why the Lord called Satan the prince of the power of the air. because I have to even tell my kids at a young age, who runs the world? And I had to understand them. I had to make them understand that Satan runs this world. Yeah. God is the overseer of it all. So the blessed part about while Satan's running rampant on this earth, doing what he does to hurt people not only physically, mentally, and even in their faith, he can't take you out of here unless God says that it's your time.
Yeah.
So even though Satan manipulates to seek and to devour like a lion in 1 Peter chapter 5 verses 8, he can't take you out of here unless God says he can.
Yep.
So that's why you should thank God every day that you wake up, every day, regardless of what you're involved in, whether if it's right or wrong. When you woke up in the morning and open your eyes and you see the people that you love, or even see the job that you don't like, Satan was overnight asking the Lord to kill you. And God told him no. So that's why every day you say, thank you, Lord, for waking me up this morning. Because God could tell you no. Go ahead, take him. God could be sick of your sin and go, yeah, I've been warning him. Go ahead and take him. Send him to hell. But he keeps telling you no. Because he wants you to go up to heaven with him. And trust me, I'm included in that too. There are addictions that I'm still fighting to this day that could send me to hell.
Yeah.
Like right now, kill me right now, I'll probably wake up in the fire. But the Lord told Satan no. And because of that, I'm thankful because God has given me the opportunity to make my life decisions better.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say right because we'll never be completely right. Because sin will always be here to the day I die. My temptations and the addictions that I have will always be with me to the day I die. The things that we got involved in that we wish we never had will always be carried with you to the day you die.
Yeah.
But God gives you the means and the provisions to try to get you to fall back on what you can do and put your trust more in him so that he can guide you through your sins, guide you through your discrepancies, and to get you to where he needs you to go, so when it's time for you to go, you are up into the gates of heaven.
Yeah.
So there's still time for you. But like I said, push that to the side because, again, we're talking about who can you trust? Who do you trust? My answer is your answer. I don't trust Trump. I don't trust Harris. I didn't trust Biden. I didn't trust Obama. I didn't trust Bush. I didn't trust Clinton. I didn't trust Reagan because I was a baby, so I didn't know who Reagan was at the time. But
also be Bush Senior.
Yeah, or Bush Senior. But it's like Bush Senior I knew. But the thing is, I didn't trust nobody.
Yeah.
So when I go through these, this troubling times of how this nation is falling apart, regardless of the issues with Roe v. Wade, regardless with the issues with the economy, regardless with the issues with the global events that's happening, I know that if I keep trusting in these people to help me to become where I need to be, I'm doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't vote or whatever. Everybody has their opinion on what they want to do as far as helping this nation of the world. But what I'm saying is think outside the box, people. Think outside the box. If you don't have the president that you wanted in the office coming on Tuesday, and things get worse regardless what president is in there, you got to think outside the box and understand that there is a God who's providing you the means to make you survive another presidency, regardless if it's the king you want or you don't want. Mm-hmm. And trust me, my blood pressure jumped when Trump was in office. Okay?
Yeah.
Especially the things that was happening with George Floyd and other black people, to the point that the whole world just erupted. The chaos started burning everything down.
Yeah.
And I told you before, the life expectancy of a black person was significantly down the past few years.
Yeah.
Because of all the chaos that's going on. And I'm not putting it on like Trump or whatever, but it's just kind of funny that the things escalated that way during his time.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, regardless of what time I have on this earth, I am going to stop relying on the government to provide for me and ask the Lord to come in and provide for me the means of what the rest of the world are lacking.
Yeah.
I'd rather rely on the God to give me, to supply me with everything I'll need, because I know that my government, regardless of who is in there, regardless who's running the House of Representatives, regardless of who's running the Senate, are lacking.
Mm-hmm. Yep. At the end of the day.
So I just want y'all to think about that. These are dangerous times. Don't get swept by the current of hatred and violence that might happen during the course of the week or two. And I told my peers that the world's going to shift on Tuesday, regardless who's going to win. And I have a feeling, I'm not going to say who, I have a feeling I know who's going to win. The world's going to shift regardless.
Yeah.
And we're going to be living in more countless dangerous times, because if you think outside the box, it's not about the government. It's about Satan trying to devour souls as fast as he could before Jesus comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a sinner telling you this. So if a sinner, my dad always say, if a sinner warns you of something that you're doing, that's the last warning of God before God strikes you.
Yeah.
And I confess, I'm not right. And I'm going through a lot of things myself. But I'm telling you, you better watch it. Don't get swayed by the current. We say, do not be conformed by the ways of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Think outside the box, because there's a current that the enemy is throwing at you guys. And you guys, I see it on the news and everybody arguing about this and that and everything about what's going on in this country, to the point y'all ready to throw blows. It's all Satan.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. In the meantime, stay tuned, stay alert, and always remember, you are the movement. And please, slow yourself down and think outside the box. Remove your face away from the mirror to see the whole picture and realize that you're going to need to trust in God more than anybody that's in these political offices. So with that, I hope you guys have a good week and hope you guys have a safe election. Peace.